Hey everybody, Nate here from WASD20. Welcome back. Today we are going to be taking a look at Volo's Guide to Monsters, which is a terrifying newish release from Wizards of the Coast. The latest release for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It came out this past November. I got it right away. I was really excited about it, and I just haven't had much time to sink my teeth into it. So that's why this video is not going to be a full review of it, because I just feel like I haven't read enough of this book yet to give a full review. I've read about 10 or 15 pages and paged through a lot of it. So this is going to be more of a what is Volo's Guide to Monster video, or perhaps a let's take a look at Volo's Guide to Monster video. So let's do that. Let's get down and crack this thing open and take a look. So let's look at the cover before we actually dig into the book here. This cover is the special hobby shop edition or something like that, and it is a unique cover compared to the more traditional one, which I'll throw up here on the screen, which does match the core 5th edition books a little better, like the Monster Manual, Player's Handbook, and all that stuff, where it's got the glossy finish here, a little bit of matte on the back, and yeah, the standard spine where it has Dungeons & Dragons written in red there. So I was a little bit torn about that, because now I'm breaking the flow of my 5th edition books here without the red logo there. But it's worth it because this cover is just awesome and it's kind of terrifying. The cover itself is very not glossy, very matte, I guess you would say, because it's almost got a velvety feel to it. It's kind of weird, very smooth, and it does kind of collect, I don't know, stains a little bit. Like here, it looks like, I don't know what that is. Probably a little bit of soy milk from my cereal or something like that. I don't know. And I've even got a little stain right here, so it's getting a little bit marked up and scuffed. But it's a cool cover. It does have a little bit of metallic sheen on some of the highlights here, and maybe you can pick that up on the camera. I don't know if you can, but certain things, like for example, this tentacle, it's all gray, but then right here you start to get a little bit of metallic sheen to it as it highlights. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's got a really neat look to it. All right, so the classic Mind Flayer, very scary. And the back is kind of similar. As you can see, the book does retail for $49.95. You can once in a while get it cheaper at various places online. I think Amazon has it for $44 right now, and it did go down to, like, I don't know, $30 or $35, I think, at one point. And I'll put a link to that down in the description below. That'll be an affiliate link. And yeah, let's open it up and actually take a look at the insides here. I don't want to show off too much of it because, hey, if you really like it, you should probably buy it and not just have me show you every single page. But I'll show you a lot and just try to give you a feel for what's in it so you can make a better decision about whether you would like to buy it. This cover image is kind of weird here in the inside cover. I can't remember what kind of creature that is, some kind of celestial beast, and it's kind of an odd choice because usually I'd expect something kind of terrifying there and a little more iconic maybe. Now this rather fluffy looking unicorn here probably is terrifying and could destroy whole worlds of player characters, but anyway, I thought it was kind of an odd choice. We go in here and we can see the credits. You can see a little info about the cover art by Hydro74. I don't think that's his birth name. I don't know, or her birth name. We've got about this book. You got the little disclaimer here. Those are always kind of humorous in 5th edition books. And then we should look at the table of contents. We'll be referring to this quite a bit as we try to figure out what is this book. You've got a preface. The preface mentions who Volo is. This is Volo Thamp Gedarm. And then you've also got some notes throughout the book from Elminster, a classic D&D figure. So I didn't know who Volo was. I knew who Elminster was, but I Googled it last summer when I heard about this book and found Volo's guides to all sorts of other things in previous editions. So apparently they're carrying on that tradition. But there's some kind of interesting, funny banter back and forth between Volo and Elminster. And you can see little kind of sticky notes throughout. I don't think they had sticky notes in the Forgotten Realms, but you get the idea here. So let me see if I can find some of these. There's one from Volo, there's one from Elminster, and so they have their little commentary throughout the book here, some of which is humorous. some of which is contradictory, I think, is what the impression I get from the preface here, is that they might contradict each other at points or disagree slightly on certain points, which gives it a unique and interesting character. But when I first heard about the book in some preview articles back in the summertime or early fall, I got the feeling that there was going to be more of that. But that's just little tiny bits and pieces of flavor here and there. It's not a major focus of the book. So, Chapter 1 is all about monster lore, and basically this is more information on some of the classic and iconic monsters of D&D, such as beholders, giants, gnolls, goblinoids, hags, kobolds, mind flayers, orcs, and Yuan-ti, the snake people. So, yeah, that's a really good list, and those are some of the ones that I would probably expect and would want more information on, because they're pretty heavily used in Dungeons & Dragons games. So we'll take a look at one of those here, just to kind of give you an idea of what the monster lore section contains. And then you've also got character races. These are new playable races. Now, you could play a lizard folk before. You could make it work, and I knew DMs who were kind of homebrewing some rules to make monstrous characters. But now you have the rules for it, and it's a little more laid out. So that's really nice, and will give players more options and DMs more flexibility in terms of running maybe an interesting one-shot with a party full of lizard folk, or maybe even a campaign, who knows? Or maybe you just have, a random lizard folk or kenku in a regular party of adventurers. Crazier things have happened, guys. True. Alright, Chapter 3 is a bestiary. That's where we get the list. This is the section that is most like the monster manual, but make no mistake, this book is not a monster manual. It is kind of a small monster manual, 100 pages or so, and some other cool stuff that we just talked about. So, in addition, there is some assorted beasts. I think these are like, animals, and then there's some non-player characters. So that part is very similar to the monster manual in that Chapter 3, the bestiary, and then these appendices are very similar to what's in the monster manual. You also have some lists organized in various ways. We'll take a look at those. And you've got some maps throughout, some really, really nice maps, as we have gotten accustomed to here in 5th edition. Let's start by looking at the monster lore section. We'll take an example of the kobolds, page 63 here, just to give you a feel for what this is like. Now, going back to my monster manual, let me grab that. Let's, for reference, take a look at what was in the monster manual for kobolds. Here you had it. One page, got some description up here, and then you've got 2 stat blocked, one for winged kobolds and another for just standard kobold. And yep, that was it. Now in this book, I think we've got about 7 or 8 pages of stuff on kobolds. So it just expands it a lot more. It gives you a lot more idea. And while this isn't necessary, for DMs who want to get more information to make their monsters feel more authentic or unique or distinct from each other, there's a lot of fuel for that here. There's also some great art. So all of this on the first 2 pages is just information. 3 pages really, life and outlook, so kind of get a feel for how do they see the world and what are their lives like. Then you've got environment, which can be handy for a DM. Role-playing a kobold, that's kind of cool. I'm sure all this info would help you role-play a kobold better too. But some good tips on that sort of thing, so that not all your monsters just kind of end up sounding alike and thinking alike. You can actually give it more character. And then you've got physical variations, all of them. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped names. Physical variations. And I think all of the monster lore creatures do have a section on names and characteristics. It's not always physical. I think like for beholders, for example, there's beholder personality traits, which are all just awful. But there's a great variety of awful character traits. Then you've got tactics, which can be really useful, again, for running encounters with these creatures. What sorts of tactics can a DM use? And then a section on treasure. What sorts of things might a party find if they killed some kobolds, for example? Allies, minions, and pets. Kobold lairs. And there is an example of a kobold lair here in the form of a map. And it is gorgeous. Beautiful map. Full color, really nice looking. Then you've got traps right here. And some information on survival skills. And then that's it on kobolds. Then you would start the section on mind flayers. So that's to give you a feel for what sorts of things are in the monster lore section. So there's pretty much 100 pages of monster lore. And then you get to chapter 2, the character races. I already kind of talked about these, but the races are Aasimar, Furbolgs, maybe I'm saying that right, Goliaths, Kenku, Lizardfolk, Tabaxi, and Tritons. These are all new playable races. Now, some of these were released in other places. Aasimar, I think, for example, was they didn't have as much detail, but they were statted out in the DMG, the Dungeon Master's Guide. They had that as an example of how you can create your own races for playable characters. And now you have a little more info here. Furbolgs, Goliaths were another one that were listed elsewhere. I think this was in Unearthed Arcana, which is just the online publication. It might have been in a book too. But now you've got it here, Goliaths, if you want to play a Goliath. You've got Kenku, you've got Lizardfolk, Tabaxi, and Tritons as well. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I could see myself doing that. I think it would be fun to particularly run a one-shot where you've got a party full of monstrous races. You know, just let's do a Kenku one-shot. I think that would be awesome. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Then we get into chapter 3, which is all about the monsters, just tons and tons of more monsters. Now, some of these are monsters that were in the monster lore section. For example, there was a section on gnolls. And now you've got the stat blocks in this section for specific types of gnolls that weren't in the monster manual. Alright, so that's kind of cool. Just to give you more options within each race. And then obviously you've also got a lot of new creatures that just weren't in the monster manual previously. Oh, here's that lovely creature. It is a Kirin. Yeah, there you go. I know there are some monsters here that people have been very interested in, like the Froghemoth, for example. So, yeah, some of them are old classic monsters. I think a lot of them are monsters that did appear in previous editions of Dungeons and Dragons. You know, because they went up to like Monster Manual 12 or whatever. And so far in 5th edition, we only have the first Monster Manual. So I'm sure there are still plenty more that will be released over the next couple of years. But yeah, lots and lots of more options. And then we do get into the section, the appendices in the back, where you've got the assorted beasts, different kinds of, just a couple really, different kinds of animals. And then you've also got the non-player characters, a few pages of those. And I can actually see myself using these a lot because I tend to run sort of a low fantasy setting in general. Not as many crazy creatures, but my players do end up fighting a fair amount of humans and dwarves and orcs and stuff like that. And so these are things that I could probably make pretty good use of. They can be really any humanoid race. And then you've got these monster lists, and this is, yeah, something that not all of this was listed this way in the Monster Manual. They fixed a lot of it in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and now you've got it right off the bat. You've got stat blocks by creature type, by challenge rating, by environment, which is kind of cool. If you need forest creatures, here are some that might appear in a forest. And that's it. So, that is Volo's Guide to Monsters. I really like it. I do not regret the purchase at all, and I'm sure I will get a lot of use out of it over the years. And even if I don't use it very much as a DM, I'm glad I have it just because I like to read about monsters. So if that's you too, definitely check out Volo's Guide to Monsters. It is far from a necessity. The Monster Manual has plenty of beasties for you, but if you're looking for something a little more, this is a great choice. Go check it out. So that's it. Pretty cool book. I really like it, and I want to hear from you. Do you have this book? If so, what do you think? And if you have any questions about it, I would love to answer them. Just leave them down in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up, and make sure you're subscribed. New videos on WASD 20 every Wednesday. Everybody take care. You'll see me again very soon.